What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Endgame. We're here to mock draft, and tonight you're in luck. If you like Dynasty, well, that's what we're doing. Dynasty Startup Mock Draft. What if you want to get in the real thing? Well, you're in luck there too. So if you see right there on the screen, building dynasties, it's what we're all about, helping you build a championship dynasty team. And so we have put together a video course that you can access. All you need to do is go to flockfantasy.com/endgame and join. You have any subscription, you get access to that and 30% off as of right now, access to the course, and you can join a dynasty league with us. We already have one going. We're going with as many as we can fill. League 2 open right now. So if you want in on it, then this is the time to act. So get a chance to win a $100 grand prize, but with absolutely no buy-in required. You don't have to pay to join the league. Just have to have that membership. And you can win $50 for second place and some nice end game swag just for joining. So definitely worth it. So again, flockfantasy.com/endgame. We're gonna do a little practice round tonight on a dynasty startup. So anybody who wants in, you're gonna have to, well, either be really fast as soon as that link goes out, or you can get ahead of the game. And if you join the flock, you have access to that too, just like all our mock drafts. So, Stinger, what are you talking about? The last mock of the off season. It's like early June. There's a long off season left.
I know. What are you doing? What are you doing the whole off season?
Oh, he was saying he has like football practice or something. Stinger still, he's in school. Yeah, I get you. He's busy. He's a busy man. Good question here. King is asking how many open spots in the Dynasty League. Well, we've already filled one. League 2, we still have plenty of spots, I think.
Yeah, we just started. We're about halfway drafting through League 1. We haven't started League 2 yet. So there's definitely a spot for you. I will say what we're going to do this time, because we did have a little, I don't know what the word is, incident with the first one. You're going to have to DM me when you sign up at Flock if you want to get in, and I'll also post it in it. But you're going to have to DM me in the Discord so I can send you the link directly so we don't have any cheaters like we had last time.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was a first for me, no doubt.
Well, yeah. King, do it, man. Do it. Go ahead and join. You know, you're always up in here. Just send us a message in Discord and get you in that league.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, we ready to Dynasty mock draft tonight?
All right, let's do it.
All right, here comes the link. We got plenty of spots tonight, so it shouldn't be too tough to get in. There's the link. Yeah, Nico knows he's in it. We had to restart the draft. It was a nightmare, but we're gonna do it differently this time. We learned a good learning experience. I guess it's good that we learned right off the bat, right?
Yeah, just get it out of the way.
Exactly.
It was interesting. I just considered that first one like a mock, right? It just got us some good practice. It's funny because mostly 10 out of 12 the same people in the league, and so we already knew who each other had picked. So we're like, oh, you're gonna pick the same guy, you're gonna have the same thing, and it wasn't exactly the same.
No, it's quite a bit different. We got one more spot, team 8. We need team 8.
Taz made it in, didn't make it in last night.
And King asking if we do Dynasty. Yes, we do. The Dynasty leagues are on Sleeper. They are also on Sleeper.
Yeah,
which I think is the
best for Dynasty.
Yeah, it's definitely the best for Dynasty. Okay, now we got Team 7 available because somebody moved to Team 8. One team left. Oh, there it is. NMB moved. Now we have Team 2 available.
We keep jumping around. There's still a team left, so guys, you're waiting to join us. Yeah, everyone wants to jump around spots. All
right, now Fantasy AI moves to Team 2. So the AI, the AI must be sitting there thinking, like, okay, if I calculate in my head, the 2 is better than the 5, And we have
Running
another
a-
one. We have
Running
another
an
move. No, we still
optimization
have team 5.
algorithm to know which spot is the best to draft from.
All right, team 5. And in case you just got here, here's a link again. It is a dynasty draft, but it's a 1 QB dynasty draft because I know our Superflex drafts get really weird, and I just didn't feel like dealing with it. There we go. Alter Nico is in. Nico is in. All right. So 1 QB dynasty draft. So basically, like redraft, but dynasty, but only 1 QB. All right, we got Dan. Oh, this is supposed to be Dan Fuller. It's supposed to be you, Dan, right? Finally got in, Dan. That's got to be you at the 1, I assume. So you are on the clock. Here we go.
All
right.
Chase.
And I intentionally took the 3 just so I could do that.
And no, zero hesitation.
Yes, full PPR dynasty. 1 QB. Yes, full PPR. Zero hesitation. And then turn it up. Taz is saying he would have switched to 5, but he wants to snipe you.
Oh, okay. Oh, we'll see how that turns out. I guess I get to snipe you first, though. So. See Lamb at the 4, but again, in Dynasty, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Kingston, I don't know if I could do Bijan over Lamb. That's fair. I'd probably, more often than not, I'd probably do Lamb over Bijan. I just wanted to do Bijan tonight. I just wanted to throw out a Bijan pick tonight. Tyreek. All right, that's interesting. That's a little early for Tyreek.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at age and production and all that, it's just the whole thing that he basically has said. He's not going to play more than, 2 years. And there's something going on, right, that I saw today also. We've been hearing that Tyreek Hill is, away from the team, and it's something non-football related. But they're like, it's not a big deal. But that always makes you a little nervous, doesn't it, when you hear stuff like that going on?
Yeah, and he sent out some weird tweets like a week and a half ago. Some really weird tweets about adversity is just the next step to something else, and there's just some really weird cryptic tweets. So we've been hearing Calvin really getting suspended for gambling was whoa, that never happens, and now all of a sudden we're getting we've had 3 players suspended. They're talking about Isaiah Rodgers getting suspended. I wonder if the NFL, with phones and everything, it's so much easier to track bets. I wonder if the NFL is just really making a point of cracking down. And look, we heard the Jameson one. He was betting on college games when he was at the hotel on the road or something. It wasn't even that bad, and he still got 6 games. So I don't know, man. I'm sure these players, look, they got money. I'm sure they like to gamble.
Yeah. I mean, you got a team out in Vegas. A lot of those players have it right there in front of their face, but it's legal. But they can't be doing that. And and that's going to be this year's shakeup, right? There's always something that hits. And this year, that's going to be the thing. When they decide they're going to crack down on something, they crack down, just like baseball did, a year ago with the foreign substances, and all these pitchers were either getting suspended or hurt. And yeah, just be ready. And why is it always the wide receivers, right? It's always the receivers. You never hear a tight end who's getting suspended for doing this, that, whatever, right? It's always the wide receivers.
Well, I mean, Isaiah Rodgers is a cornerback, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I can't say you. Oh, look, okay. Dynasty startup, I usually go win now, but not always. Not always. And Kelsey, I wouldn't take him that early in a Dynasty startup. So what I'm trying to say is you didn't quite snipe me.
Cup Kelsey is without a doubt all in must win this year. Which isn't, I mean, it's not a bad, it's not a bad strategy, right? Because if they stay healthy and they stay elite, can certainly do it.
But okay, so I took Tyreek Hill in our dynasty startup, or the building dynasties that we're doing now. I have Hill, and I am aware, he's not going to be around forever. I took Kelsey. No, I didn't take Kelsey. Kelsey went what in that draft, round 5 or something?
Pretty late, like what, 5th or 6th round?
Yeah, something like that. So most people aren't. Even if you win now, you could still wait for guys like that because probably nobody else is going to be that all in to win now. Like there's a way to win now without pushing all your chips in a very short 2-year window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And he said he forgot it was Dynasty. So win now. Oops. So win now it is.
Forgot it was Dynasty. Well, there you go. That explains it. Yeah, it is Dynasty. Just so everyone's aware, Dynasty startup is why I'm getting my young receivers here.
Yeah, and just to let you know, like anybody who's been thinking about doing Dynasty, wants to play Dynasty, obviously we'd love to have you in our Dynasty leagues on flockfantasy.com/endgame. They're all super flex. We only do the 1 QB on here because we know a lot of people on here are new to Dynasty and new to Superflex. Whenever we try to do Superflex drafts, they get really weird. Like QBs, like hardly any QBs get drafted early. These get really weird. So we only do 1 QB on here for the mocks. But if you actually play in our Dynasty leagues, they are Superflex.
Yeah.
Right, so anyways.
Yeah. Talk about this. The one bad thing with sleepers, the ADP gets funky sometimes. But
I think
so Stinger's questioning his own pick. Took Diggs in the first round, 1.9, wondering if that is too early or not.
Yeah, I think it's a bit too early. I think right around this range where we're at right now is where I'd feel comfortable taking Diggs. I mean, you could probably still bet on like a couple more really good years from Diggs. I just feel like there are younger wide receivers that you can get 5+ elite years from where you took Diggs. So I would like a more kind of like in the range we're at right now, here in the early third. It's more where I feel comfortable.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When there's a difference of like a year or two, you don't want to overemphasize age in Dynasty. But Diggs is 29, right? Getting close to the age of 30. And then you have guys who normally in redraft, you would take Diggs before. But in Dynasty, talk about like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, St. Brown, Olave. There's a big age difference between those guys. So in Dynasty, they're all probably higher picks.
Exactly. It's like the Tyreek pick. I mean, I think Tyreek should probably be in that same range, like that early third there. Another guy where it's like, yeah, you can probably bet on 2, maybe 3 very good years from Tyreek, which is fine. Look, I always say it's very hard to project. It's hard to project next year. Like, okay, we're going into 2023. It's hard to project 2024, let alone 2025, 2026. But
Yep.
You can feel pretty good about a guy like CeeDee Lamb, who's 24 years old, and we know is a stud. He'll probably still be a stud in 2026, 2027, 2028, right? Barring like a catastrophic injury or something. So, just because of his age. So, I'm not like, I don't think Hill and Diggs are terrible picks, but I don't think they should be, necessarily first round in Dynasty.
Right. And that's the way you really want to do, ideally, because again, so many things. Everyone thinks they know what's going to happen this year, next year. Like, we don't even know what's going to happen by week 3. It'll be completely different than what you expected for the most part. But this is why I preferred, like, just to build a team that I know I feel good about now, because I know a year or 2 from now it could be totally different. But getting a player that you have a great confidence can be good for the next couple or several years, meaning a young wide receiver, or an experienced tight end, for the most part, that's the best strategy. Or a franchise quarterback. Running backs, just forget it. Like just. We're going to be running back heavy early, I think, for a dynasty startup.
Definitely more running back heavy than I like. I typically like having a lot of wide receivers in dynasty, and then getting like kind of like I want to feel really good about my wide receivers in dynasty, because again, like we've seen it. Like imagine let's take, I know he hasn't been drafted, of course, but let's take a guy like Dalvin Cook. 2 years ago, like so let's say before the 2021 season, if you were doing a dynasty startup and you drafted Dalvin Cook, you're like, I got Dalvin Cook. Well, in 2021, he was okay in 2021, if you remember, but he wasn't like elite. And then last year he was even worse. And now you're sitting there with Dalvin Cook going like, what am I going to do with Dalvin Cook? Right? Yep. And he's only 27 years old. That's crazy. It's not like he's old. Whereas a wide receiver, like even like DK Metcalf, who I took in the third, okay, he was good last year, but not phenomenal. He might not be phenomenal this year again because Geno Smith, but he's still a very young wide receiver. There's plenty of time for him to, become this elite wide receiver. I don't have to worry about him, falling off a cliff anytime soon. So I like to feel really good about my wide receivers in dynasty, and then running back you can kind of figure out. You can improve your running back room either through trades or through the rookie draft when the new rookie running backs are coming in, because now you can get a rookie. Like if you, let's say last year you did a dynasty draft and your wide receivers were really good, your running backs are weak. Maybe you finished like third to last or something because you had no running backs. Well, then this year you could draft like a Jahmyr Gibbs or whatever, right? And you can now all of a sudden maybe you have that young stud running back, and now your team becomes an instant contender. So that's typically my strategy in dynasty.
Yeah. So like here, even though he's not the youngest, I think round 4 for Davante Adams, I feel like I had to take him because I have a team that can still compete this year. So kind of going for the in-between build.
Yeah, I think Adams is... I mean, I'll be honest, for me, Adams is a guy I'm never going to have on any of my dynasty teams. Unless I have a team where it's like maybe week 9 or week 10, and I feel like, okay, this team can contend, and I need one more elite wide receiver, I'll go see like who has Davante Adams, and maybe that team is like out, not going to make the playoffs, and is trying to rebuild, and I can go maybe trade my first for Davante Adams or something and make a run. He's just not a guy like I'm a little too age averse when it comes to that. But look, he could certainly be great again this year, and if he is, then no one will really care, that he's old if he's great again this year. So I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I feel he'll be great with like Aiden O'Connell at quarterback or whoever it's going to be.
Let's hope it's Jimmy G at least.
I'm getting a little nervous, but I just feel like at that value, I couldn't pass it up because nobody else stood out either. That's the thing. I was going to take DJ Moore. So Nico is learning. Nico is in our dynasty, building dynasties league. Got 4 young, really young, good wide receivers. That's the way to build a core for a dynasty team for sure. I mean, it's not like wide receivers are infallible. Like wide receivers don't bust, I mean, it does happen. You are taking a risk, but it's definitely a better risk than, it's football. Every player is risky.
That was an interesting pick for me there, for sure.
Yeah, see, I almost feel like with Debo, even though he's younger than Davante, it's like, I don't know, at least I feel like Davante Adams, his body won't betray him as much as I feel like with Debo.
Well, true.
So it's similar, but...
That's true. I'm not super high on Debo anyways, but he's in a good system. We've seen him do it. He's still youngish, right? I think he just turned 27. So he's still youngish.
Yeah, he's got that upside in that offense. Fantasy AI also doing some work there, getting young wide receivers.
I will say that was an interesting pick for me because I feel like there's a lot of good running backs on the board, but I already have Bijan. Bijan.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't want to come out of a dynasty draft and not feel good about my wide receivers, because the wide receivers are like the foundation of your team in dynasty.
Yeah, no, you didn't take Ridley. You were super high on Ridley. I know you said you're coming down a little bit, but not that big an age difference from him and Debo. So I'm almost a little surprised you didn't take Ridley over Debo.
I mean, it's not a huge age difference, but Ridley is a year older. And I talked about it last night. I'm a little nervous about Ridley. I don't mind that Ridley pick at all by any stretch, but
yeah, I think it's solid value there for Ridley and for Najee. I like both those picks.
Pittman was the other receiver I was considering when I took Debo. About 2 years age difference there, I believe.
Yeah, I keep saying he's a guy. I'm not gonna really know how to value him. I don't know what to make of him right now because I feel it's gonna be all or nothing kind of.
Yeah, I don't think Pittman's not a guy I would take on a full win now team. Like if I was selling out, like if I had Turn It Up's team with Cup, Kelsey, Walker, Fields, I probably wouldn't take Pittman because I'm a little worried about him this year. But again, he's 25 and a half years old. Like he probably has at least 4 to 5 more really good years as a player. So you just hope either A, Anthony Richardson develops, or B, he ends up somewhere better during that time.
Yeah, well, I mean that could be it. That could be what happens. He might no guarantee he'll be still in Indy next year. And then B. All right, here we go.
Yeah, Pittman is 25. I mean, he'll be 26 this year. Yeah, but wide receiver prime is typically 26 to 29, 28 in that range. So you're still getting, again, probably 4+ years. And he's a really good player. That's the thing. He's a really good player. And they used him terribly last year. Like Matt Ryan couldn't throw it more than 10 yards. It was just, everything was just, I remember watching a game and all it was just Matt Ryan snapping it. His eyes would get like this big, like a deer in headlights. And he would just throw it to Pittman, like at the line of scrimmage, and pray Pittman would break 5 tackles. But that's not what Pittman does. That's not his game. His game is not some yard after catch tackle breaking monster. He's a precise route runner, a great separator, a great contested catch guy. Using him terribly last year. So the hope for me with Pittman, because I do have Pittman, I was trying to get Pittman a lot last year, is that Anthony Richardson, at least Anthony Richardson has an arm. Whether it's accurate or not, we'll see. But he's got a cannon. The dude can chuck it, right? The dude can chuck it.
Oh, yeah. Arm strength is not an issue.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll get more of those vertical targets and things, but all right, so you took your first running back with Dobbins. I like that. Definitely like that.
Yeah. I considered taking Swift again, and I just took him. All right. Well, you already kind of were all in to win this year. Now you're definitely all in to win this year, Taz.
Yeah, with Derrick Henry there, that's it. That is all in. Must win now.
Don't bother taking any rookies. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you probably should take some to offset it, but yeah, build a team that you feel solid's going to win now. So probably, I'll say you should probably take a receiver.
Yeah, because it is a 3 wide receiver league. All right, there's some youth.
All right, so be it. Man, let's take my guy. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Take my
running back. All right, so Brian asking if D-Hop somehow ends up on the Chiefs, which is now seeming less and less likely by the day. But if he does, do we value him similar to Adams?
I don't even know what's likely with D-Hop anymore because now it's something different, new every day. It's like Cleveland. Oh, back to Houston. Oh, no, wait, Tennessee. It's like, I don't know. I just wake me up when he actually goes somewhere.
Yeah.
With D-Hop, I mean, I think it depends. It definitely has to depend where he goes. I mean, you can't say that it matters whether he's in Houston or Tennessee versus Kansas City or Buffalo. That's a huge difference. So
yeah,
if he does end up on the Chiefs, is he similar to Adams? Nah, not for me. I think it's close, but not for me. I know we kind of beat this to death a week ago, or was it when we were talking about D-Hop? Because Kansas City, they're not going to force feed him. I don't think he's going to have like a career year resurrection type thing now that he's 30, just because Kansas City. So I think he'll be still really good, but I wouldn't put him quite at the same level as Adams personally.
Yeah, no, I probably won't put him with Adams, but it's like, especially I might put him with Adams in the sense that they're both guys I don't draft in a dynasty startup personally. Yeah. D-Hop is 31. He just turned 31 yesterday, I believe. So he's definitely like, you have to really, like, you might only get one good year out of D-Hop. Like, legitimately, you might only get one good year. So I don't know. D-Hop's the guy I'm trying to get rid of. I'm hoping in the one league I have him, the one dynasty league I have him, where I actually traded for him, like I was talking about with Adams, to try to make a run. I'm hoping he lands somewhere good, and then I can just trade him. That's really what I'm hoping for. Like, he signs with the Chiefs or the Bills, and then I can get like a young wide receiver and a first or something. I don't know, something crazy for him.
Yeah, there you go. We are what? We're a dominant species. All right, I'll take that. All right, yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I'll take it, I guess.
And the fantasy dog, we're dog people, is not touching Adams because of Jimmy G. I mean, look, at this point, I'm hoping it's Jimmy G and not somebody that they drafted in the 6th round or whatever. So Jimmy G is not the worst. He can support a decent receiver numbers.
All right, how do I always miss these people getting picked?
Busy talking.
Oh, he's gone too? Okay. I like him in Dynasty. So, hold on. Okay, yeah, he got picked. Where is him? Where is he at? Oh, wow, he went in the 3rd. Okay, yep, totally missed that. Got to pay more attention.
All right. So aside from the suspension, let's just say 6 weeks pass and everything's good and fine. How we feel about Jameson Dynasty? I'm still a little worried. Honestly, I'm not all in on him because of other things. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I never really was all in on him. He wasn't. I thought he was a little overhyped as a prospect. He's good, but I thought he was a little overhyped. Didn't like the landing spot in Detroit with Goff. Maybe that'll change. My worry with Jameson Williams is, okay, like gets suspended. Now basically he's starting week 7 as a rookie. Because remember, the most snaps he played in a game last year was 25%. Just basically like he didn't play. He had 1 catch. He's basically a rookie. So you got to treat this year like his rookie year. So now you're going into next year as like year 2. So he's kind of behind the curve there. So I certainly think if you can buy him low, I would buy him low. I think the problem with trying to buy Jameson Williams low is that everybody loves Jameson Williams. Like it seems like I always talk about there's these guys in fantasy just everybody loves. And Jameson Williams is one of those guys. Everybody loves him. So it's hard to buy low on him because people are like, oh, he's going to be awesome. Even though he's caught 1 pass so far.
Yeah, and I think everyone else is seeing him as a buy low, and which means you're, not necessarily going to be buying low as you want to be. I don't know. I'm not feeling Jameson Williams. I could be wrong. There's some concerns, not talking about the suspension itself, but as far as, his grasp of the playbook, his work ethic and his connection with Goff and all these little things. And then what we've seen from Dan Campbell is what? If he doesn't love you, you're not getting on the field. And it kind of worried me then, he was back and, end of last year, he wasn't getting on the field. I mean, we could be in another sort of DeAndre Swift kind of situation where we're always like, oh, he's so talented. Like it's going to happen. He's going to break out. They just need to use him more. And they'll never, maybe it won't happen. So I don't know. I'm not touching Jameson Williams. That I could be wrong, but that's just me. My gut won't let me. Okay, let's see. What is this? Brunel's got a keeper league question. Let me throw it up here and we can try to figure it out together. The player you're trying to keep, does it go off where you drafted last season or is it this season's ADP? That depends on your league settings. It depends.
Yeah. All different leagues do it all different ways. Some leagues, it's just like a straight keeper. You just like keep X amount of players. It doesn't matter where you drafted them. Some leagues, it's based on draft. Like I remember talking to somebody back in the day and they had, I think it was, I forget who it was. It was some like wide receiver who just had like an amazing rookie year and they'd gotten him in like the 13th round. So now the next year, this wide receiver was going in like round 2 now and they got him in round 12. It's like, how is that even fair? How is that even fair? So really, yeah, it depends on your league settings. But I will say, okay, between Hurts and Diggs, if there's no round penalty, I'm gonna keep Diggs.
Yeah, hold on, I'll make my pick and I'll see because I know there's a part 2 to that question. Who do I want?
Unless it's super flex, of course, then I would keep Hurts. But I doubt it.
Panic.
Mr. RB over there.
Yeah, I don't know. I panicked. Okay, so draft Jalen Hurts in the 5th round, and want to know if it's worth keeping him over like Stephon Diggs. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's not super flex. You got Jalen Hurts in the 5th round, so if it's just a 1 QB league, no, yeah. I mean, it depends on how many keepers you get. I mean, it kind of depends, right? It depends on a lot of things. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it comes down to, is it just a straight keeper where it's like pick one guy and keep him? Then you just keep your best player. Whoever your best player is, you just keep him. if you got the round, like if Diggs is going to cost you a first rounder and Jalen Hurts is only going to cost you a fifth round, I'd probably keep Jalen Hurts.
Right. Yeah. So go and check your league settings. I mean, it depends on whether there's a cost. Wow, Elijah Moore. Okay. You know what, Taz? You did sort of snipe me because he was on my queue. I wasn't for sure whether I would take him this early, but if that was your goal, then mission accomplished. I was thinking about taking. There's some receivers out there that are I didn't want to make an old team, and I don't have an old team, but I want to take these old receivers, but they're like the best receivers available. You know what? I'll just not take a receiver. Get the Muth.
Yeah, see like this. Okay, so what William is saying. He's in a 2-keeper league. He's keeping Dameon Pierce and Chris Olave. Drafted Pierce in the 10th round and Olave in the 15th. So I'm guessing you're getting Chris Olave in round 14 this year. And Dameon Pierce in round 9. That's pretty good.
That's good. And your strategy is different. If you know it's so Dynasty, for those who aren't sure, Dynasty, usually you just keep your whole team, right? And it just stays until you cut somebody or trade somebody or whatever. So a keeper league, there's usually different rules. You keep certain players, not others. But again, it could be that you just keep, 3 players and you just pick whatever 3 you want, or it could be that you keep however, based on draft cost. So it just depends. There's so many variations of that. But if it is like this, where you keep players like a 2-keeper league and you keep them based on where they pick, you got to take so many shots on rookies and young players late in the rounds, because then you get things like this. Instead of receiver, instead of running back, 10th and 15th round. So changes your strategy. Nice. So that's pretty good. See, he's a 1-keeper league. So for 1 keeper, he got Hurts in the 9th round. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good too. That's really nice too. That's very nice.
All right, let's see what's going down. Joe Mixon did just get taken, finally. You took Madison. All right. So I didn't know if anybody saw him because he's a little farther down in the rankings here.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought he was older. I didn't realize he just turned 25. So I feel pretty good about him as my RB2.
I mean, you know that ADP is going to skyrocket as soon as Dalvin Cook gets traded, cut, or whatever. The one thing, and I'm grabbing Madison a lot, and I did take him in our Dynasty startup, but the one thing, if there is a concern with him, is that his yards per attempt has gone down the last couple of years. It was really good. The first 2 was like 4.5, and then last year I think it was below 4. Now again, didn't get a lot of run, and a lot of it's just because Minnesota just didn't commit to the run, and their offensive line just wasn't that good. I don't know how much better it'll be this year, but still, Madison, just by sheer volume alone, you've got to consider him. I think when Dalvin Cook gets traded, cut, I think he becomes at least a low-end RB2.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I certainly have worries with him as well. Like, can he actually hold up for 17 games if he's going to be a lead back?
Yeah.
But at this point in the draft, 25 years old, like he's definitely younger than Connor. I'm pretty sure he's even younger than Miles Sanders. I'll take my chances there.
Yeah, it's worth it at this stage. Yeah, it's worth it. So that's the problem now. I waited on wide receiver. Now I really don't like the wide receivers that are left because the couple I did kind of like are gone.
Don't like waiting on wide receiver in Dynasty.
Yes. Fantasy AI is clearly hacking into my queue. I just noticed that's actually good. I was talking about Madison at RB2. He is your RB2 for where you got him. I mean, getting Bijan and then waiting, that's really nice. It's a nice move.
I'm happy with it. I was very happy to get James Cook here because now I got more youth at running back. I'm always a big fan of youth at running back.
Yeah,
always a big fan of youth at running back.
Yeah, in Dynasty, I mean, obviously you don't want to completely, overlook talent and opportunity,
Right.
but you almost just have to put age as the number 1 and 2 thing because in Dynasty, it's going to turn over so much.
Yeah, especially at running back for sure. It's just
that's what I'm saying. I think hacking into everyone's queue. He knows who you want to pick and will take it right before you take it.
Yep. Yeah, like I was saying, I mean, just think like 2 years ago, going into 2021, you're doing a startup draft. You could have had Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, and Joe Mixon and thought, my running backs are going to smash everybody for years. And 2021, they were okay. Mixon was really good. 2022, they just weren't very good. And now you're going into 2023, like, what do I do with these running backs? Like, what do I do with them? They have no value anymore. They have hardly any value. Like, what do I do with these guys?
It is definitely true. Life comes at you fast when you're a running back. It's more than people think.
I mean, I remember Todd Gurley. Remember, there was a time when 2 years in a row, he was just a monster. And if you had him in Dynasty, you were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to win my league every year. And then like that, done. Gone.
Yeah, I think that's when we first realized, like, man, the cliff hits really quickly for some guys.
Let's go!
What's up, Taz?
Oh, Taz is autoed.
Definitely not going to snipe me that way. I mean, I guess for a win now team, it makes sense because he's about to get a veteran, either running back or wide receiver, I think. And Andrea just took your handcuff. No Algier for you.
I don't need Bijan's handcuff.
Yeah, I don't think so. There it is, as expected.
A very fitting pick. Very fitting auto pick.
Yeah. All right. All right. Now, normally in Dynasty Startup, you go very deep. Being as this is a mock, we're going, 13 rounds?
Yeah, basically our standard. We don't have to go like 20 plus rounds here. Get all deep. If you want to go deeper like that, join us on flockfantasy.com. Get in one of our Dynasty leagues.
And one thing I will mention, I don't know if we ever specify this, but when we do our actual Dynasty startups, they are slow drafts. It's not a commitment to a live online draft like this. Well, I don't have the time. You do have time. It's a 24-hour clock. And so as people go on, we might get a few picks in a day, but you have an entire day. So even if you check out for a day, then you come back, you probably won't miss your pick. So it's not a commitment in that sense. There's no money commitment. It's a free league. Assuming you're a subscriber, okay, you're paid to join the flock, but you get everything else with it, not just the Dynasty League. But anyways, don't let that scare you away if you're thinking, well, I don't know if I want to commit to a long Dynasty startup draft. It's a slow draft.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, even if you're busy and you're like, I don't have time to draft, trust me, you have time to draft.
Ton of draft. I love slow drafts, by the way. It's like the best
Me
thing.
too.
I mean, I like live drafts, fast drafts too. Don't get me wrong, but something about the anticipation all day, knowing you're going to have a pick coming up, and then negotiations for trades. And yeah, give me more slow drafts.
Yeah, I love the slow drafts. All right. I go RB here. Come on, scroll.
Paper, maybe taking a guy. You're looking at Gibson in redraft? I mean, in Dynasty as well as redraft?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, yeah, you got to feel pretty good about Gibson. Even in Dynasty, 24 years old. Pretty sure he's on the last year of his contract too, so there's no guarantee that he's going to be stuck in Washington for the next however many years. And, like, they're not going to franchise tag him, that's for sure. Unless he has like a Josh Jacobs year this year where he just like destroys everything, then they'll franchise tag him, but you won't care if they do. So yeah, I think the good selling points for Gibson, even in Dynasty, is 24 years old, last year of his deal. Doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on him.
No, he definitely doesn't. And so one thing that'll be interesting to watch, because Eric Bieniemy came over from Kansas City now to Washington. One thing that we've seen, granted, it's really Andy Reid's offense, right? It's not like Bieniemy came in there and made it his team or anything, but it's been a team that has mixed and matched at running back. Eric Bieniemy, of course, himself a former running back, right? University of Colorado, and playing the league for a while. So Bieniemy is probably going to use, like most NFL teams, a committee. So it's not going to be one guy or the other. We're going to see Brian Robinson early downs. We're going to see Gibson mix and match on certain series, but he's going to be the pass catching back. So I do think in PPR, yeah, I could see Gibson being the top scoring fantasy running back in Washington. But I think both guys are going to be almost evenly involved, I think, assuming no injuries, assuming everything being the same.
Did I see him? I did.
I think everybody's got a quarterback now, and Dan's got two.
I mean, yeah, in a typical Dynasty 1 QB draft, you probably still want to have a couple QBs you feel good about.
Yeah, and that is fine in Dynasty, yeah, because in a redraft league, you probably don't have to get a second quarterback, even though you do have Pat Mahomes there, Dan, which means you probably will never use a backup. It is smart to get somebody with upside, so normally I'd say that's an unnecessary pick, but it's Dynasty, so I think that's fine.
That's pretty good. Getting Hurts and Bryce Young. That's good. Not gonna have to worry about QB for the next 10 plus years, probably.
No.
Those two guys.
Yeah, something good about that. Just the security.
It's always a nice feeling when, like, you have, you feel good about a position where, like, okay, even if one guy gets hurt, I got another guy that can step in, like in this case. It's always a good feeling.
Yeah.
Just one less thing you have to think about.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's a position you don't want to have to scramble for.
No.
We'll say it's interesting. We usually don't talk about people who haven't been drafted, but there's a quarterback I'm kind of surprised hasn't been drafted at all yet.
Let me take a look. I haven't even been looking at the QBs, honestly. Oh, yeah. Wow. Now he's going to get picked.
Well, I mean, might have to get picked by me just so I have somebody as a backup. I don't know. I wasn't going to, really. I wasn't going to take a second quarterback this early, but
yeah, I think in a typical 1QB Dynasty League, I probably wouldn't take my second QB this early.
no, there's several guys left. Oh yeah, there's even some young quarterbacks left that are worth taking. So I'll probably wait.
Oh, Taz made it back to pick Tyjae Spears. Interesting.
All right, welcome back to
Jake asked me if we done a third round reversal, and we did do a third round reversal in one of our Dynasty leagues this year. Not one that we are both in, but not one that we run. What did you think of that third round reversal draft?
Let me make my pick.
It's the Man Cave League.
Yes, the Man Cave League. Okay, hold on. Let me get my guy here.
I'll say, so I had the third pick in that league. I did not like it. Because with the number 3 pick, I got pick 3, and then I got pick whatever it is, 21, and then I didn't pick again. Like I had to wait a whole whatever. Whereas the person who has pick 12 got pick 12, pick 13, and pick they basically got 4 picks that were as good as my first 3 picks or something.
Yeah, third round reversal. It doesn't do anything for me really. I would just say I don't feel like it's better necessarily. A lot of people think it's a huge advantage having one of those early first round picks. It doesn't always play out that way. You know what I mean? Right. We've been seeing a lot of our drafts we've done where the best teams are the ones at the 12th spot. So, no, I think just it is what it is, and the draft is only part of the whole thing. So
that's true.
Third round reversal, it's it's whatever.
And he's saying it's a 1QB league, no super flex, and I don't even I thought the whole point of third round reversal was so the people on the end don't get hosed at QB. But
I guess I'm not sure what the point is.
That's true. Speaking of which, what do we got here? 2 more picks.
Yep, almost there.
Go Michael Thomas or Adam Thielen here.
Both winning picks. I like how you put that. What's it earlier today? Basically, if you take Adam Thielen, it's like you saying pass. Just forfeit your pick. You might as well just forfeit right now.
Exactly. Just say I'm passing on this pick. Woo, Cordero Patterson. Interesting. Not a name I expected to see tonight.
In Dynasty, no less. Is that your first tight end? You just got... Oh, I guess so.
That is my first tight end. So now I got the T-Law Ingram stack. Let's go.
There you go. The Stinger special. I'm surprised he didn't take.
Right?
All right. Yeah, he did take the guy I was mentioning. I just realized that now. Looking back, he took Dak Prescott. I mean, he's not the youngest quarterback, but come on, man. I feel like the disrespect for Dak is a little out of hand. I mean, in fantasy at least, there's really no reason to hate on him. He puts up big numbers.
It's a little out of hand, and also quarterbacks well into their 30s. It's not like quarterbacks hit the age cliff like you got 32 or something. And I think for a team like him, where he drafted Anthony Richardson, Dak is perfect because you might not be able to rely on Anthony Richardson right away.
No, you probably don't want to rely on him the first few weeks, maybe the whole first season. Who knows? All right, and then your final pick.
How deep do I go here? Let's have some fun and go deep. Talk about somebody I bet most people haven't even heard of.
Nice. I know Nate's on him. He's mentioned him a couple times.
I see potential with Puka, but at the same time, I see bust potential with Puka as well.
Yes. But that's any of these rookies.
Stinger knows. I don't know if it's a great pick. I appreciate you saying great pick, but I don't really think it's a great pick there. I just wanted to grab him because he's got a cool name. But I really do. I do think when you get deep in your dynasty drafts, maybe closer to around the late teens, not necessarily round 13. I do think he's a good ad, good pick because he's on the Rams. And it's Cooper Kupp and maybe Van Jefferson, and that's pretty much it. And he's one of those guys that no, he's not gonna, be an incredible route runner type of guy, but he's a guy that if you find ways to get the ball in his hands, he'll make things happen. And Sean McVay is one of those coaches who will find ways to get the ball in your hands if you can make things happen. So I do see the path and the potential for him. I also see the path of potential for him to be out of the league in 2 years.
Well, it's very true. He was a later pick. What round was he? Fifth or sixth round?
Five, I think.
Okay.
Trying to remember off the top of my head, but I think 5, which isn't too bad. It's not terrible, especially for a wide receiver. It's not quite as important for a wide receiver.
Right. Yeah, he's on a team where he has a chance to carve out a role. So that's good.
Yeah. And again, what I like is he landed in that McVay offense. And we know they like to run those jet sweeps with the wide receivers. I know they were doing that with Tutu Atwell last year, but come on, the guy's 150 pounds.
Wow. I can't believe it. I was about to take my guy. I was going to take Michael Wilson. He just got taken in front of me. Wow. All right, then. You're going to play like that. Yeah, this guy I'm not going to.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Not too high on him.
I wasn't high on him already, and then he went to New England. So
yeah.
All right, pretty much done here, Taz. I know you're still back, so grab your guy. All right. Taz, there you go. And
there you go. There he is. All right.
Because. All right. Nice way to finish things out with some upside. Let's start with number one. I guess that would make sense. Let's start with the number one team here. That would be Dan. Took Jamar Chase, number one, then Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Najee, Ridley, Kadarius Toney, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, James Conner, Rondale Moore, Trey Lance, Michael Thomas, and then Samaje Perine.
I mean, there's a lot of players I like. I like Chase. I like Jacobs and Najee. They're basically the same age. Obviously, love Mahomes. Like Ridley, like Tony, like Goddard. I actually am kind of liking Rondale Moore. I obviously don't like MT. I just would like a little bit, like if one of those Sanders Connors picks, or maybe even both of them, were maybe younger, more upside wide receivers. Because you already got Jacobs and Najee, maybe at least one of them. You know, it's a 3 wide receiver league. I would like to see one of those guys be a maybe younger, more upside wide receiver, and I would definitely like to see MT be a younger receiver.
Yeah, actually, my only issue is maybe the depth at receiver. I like Tony better in redraft than in Dynasty, even though he's pretty young. He's just a lot of risk. It's kind of a volatile asset there. And then, yeah, I'm not huge on Rondale Moore. You know this, and I'm definitely not a huge fan of Michael Thomas. So would like to see a little better depth at receiver, but this is a team that could contend for sure this year. And then the bot, Fantasy AI, who I feel now, I'm starting to feel is Jamarcus Russell like alter ego. I think that's what it is. But anyways.
Yes.
Fantasy AI, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, Jordan Addison. Now, we did say Drake London. We saw Drake London taken at the 212 yesterday, but that was redraft. Get him at 211 in Dynasty. I think that's definitely good value. Yeah. Jordan Addison, Jahan Dotson, so young receivers. And then running backs got Ramondre, Rashad White, and then a little lower, Tank Bigsby, Damian Harris, Jerome Ford. Deshaun Watson is the quarterback. Greg Dulcich is the tight end, and then took Jaden Reed and Nico Collins for depth. It's young. Probably more like a next year kind of team, but it's good.
Yeah, it's good. I love the wide receivers. I was actually hoping Drake London would somehow make it back to me after I took T. Higgins. But this is what I'm talking about. If we look at the first team, like where Dan took Sanders and Connor, he took Jaden Reed and Nico Collins. And you could say, hey, Jaden Reed's a rookie. Nico Collins maybe never does anything, but they're young. They have potential. Because he's already got Stevenson and Rashad. And then he loaded up at running back there. So, yeah, maybe not a team that could outright contend this year unless, you know, Addison is as good as we think he's going to be. London is as good as we think he's going to be. And Dotson's going to make the leap or one of those other guys are. But certainly a team that you'll probably feel good about going into the season every year for at least the next 3 to 4 years. Right.
And that in and of itself is not the goal, like the only goal, but I think that's definitely a good goal is you want valuable assets, right? You don't want players that, you know, like maybe James Conner, maybe like that, that might be good this year. Like he'll probably outscore Jaden Reed and maybe, but then a year from now, who would you rather have? So yeah, team 3 is you. You took Bijan, no questions asked. And then you went T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Debo, Trevor Lawrence, Hollywood, Deontay, Madison Cook, Mims, Rashawn Johnson, Ingram, and Puka. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, we talked about your running backs. I like that you got some good values there after Bijan. And then a wide receiver, kind of, you got guys all right there in that prime. You even mentioned it, right? That age at like 26 to 29, that you got guys who are either right before or right in that sweet spot. They're kind of, I guess your guys are a little younger, like 25, 24, right? Some of them. What is T. Higgins? 25, I think.
24. Yeah, 24, 25. I would love this team if this is a real draft. I mean, yeah, love my wide receivers. I feel like I'd feel good about my wide receivers, you know, every year pretty much. And then it just comes down to, obviously, I have Bijan, super young, super awesome. And then it just comes down to, do one of those guys or a couple of those guys develop into a decent RB2 for me? So I would love this team if this is the team I drafted in a real dynasty league.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. Those of you seen the course or taking the dynasty course, some of you guys who are in there, like Nico, this is exactly what we talk about. Build a team that is a good contender both now and in the future, right? You're right there on that line where, you didn't go all in just to win now. You didn't get old guys, but you didn't go all young either. You're right there in the sweet spot. All right. Paper. Took CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Josh Allen, George Pickens, Michael Pittman, Hawk, Godwin, Keenan, Dylan, Gibson, DPJ, Cordero, and Cooks. It's interesting how, like, usually in drafts like this, like the later you get, the younger, like you take a shot at the rookies. This team kind of like got older as the draft went on, but it's still good.
It is definitely good. A lot of young talent here, with some old guys mixed in. But I mean, CD, Brees, if Pickens makes the leap, if Pittman gets better quarterback play, Godwin healthy, Keenan, you're kind of hoping Keenan is still really good next year, because I don't know if this is a team like this team's going to need, like, you're going to need Pickens to make the leap. You're going to need Brees to get close to healthy. You're going to need Pittman to not be as bad as he was last year if this team's going to contend this year. Certainly, this is a team you'll feel good about for many years as well. I just really question that Cordero Patterson pick. Like, what is he, like 33 years old, and he got phased out by Tyler Algier last year, and now they have an even better running back there? Like, that's a pick that just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what was that pick?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would be only for like a all-in, this year, like a Taz team. But this year, I feel like with those running backs, I don't feel like this is a win now team. So that's why, to me, the pick that I would say, well, with the way you started, which you have a great core, right? CD and Brees, and then Josh Allen pick it. But to me, then, like taking Keenan Allen, even though taking him in that round makes sense for your team, I think it would have made more sense to take a Jaden Reed or Nico Collins. So that's the pick to me that kind of just doesn't fit. Oh, and he's saying it was by accident, so maybe that's why. It happens. All right. Nico, let's see what he's learned from the course, because he's drafting there with us, doing a pretty good job in that league. So AJ Brown, JSN, Quentin Johnson, Traylon Burks. All right, so we're going young. And we're continuing with Dameon Pierce, Charbonnet, Kendra Miller, Kyler Murray, and that pretty much plants a flag on the fact that you're shooting for the next year or two. All right, so for a team that's building for the future, how do you do?
This I think is a fantastic punt year one team. You've got AJ Brown's still very young at wide receiver, and we know he's a stud. Then you have three either rookies or a second year guy who any of them can develop into studs. You have three very young running backs. I mean, really, you have 5 wide receivers that are either rookies or second year that can develop into studs. You have 5 running backs. Deuce Vaughn, okay, whatever, splitting hairs there. But you have 5 running backs that are, rookies or second year. You got Kyler, who probably is the next year guy. This is a fantastic punt year one team. So, yeah, not going to be a contender this year, but that's okay. This is the kind of team that, you give this team an early round pick next year, like the 101. I don't know if it'll be that bad, or the 102 or the 103, and you add like an elite rookie to this team. Like, think this year it could have been somebody. Well, you already have some of them, but like you add an elite rookie to this team next year, you could really take it over the top. A healthy Kyler Murray. Yeah, fantastic punt year one build.
My only question is then, and maybe you decide this afterwards, is maybe take, why take AJ Brown instead of Garrett Wilson? Just because then you get that age advantage. But, maybe just thinking AJ Brown is better, value at that point. But
yeah, and AJ Brown is still what, like 25?
He's 25. Yeah, he's still plenty.
Yeah.
All right, so now we definitely have the all-in for 23 team here. Davis Destroyer went Tyreek Hill, Austin Eckler, Jalen Hurts, Etienne, McLaurin, Chubb, Hopkins, and then a rookie tight end. But don't worry, took Darren Waller later to offset it. Gabe Davis, Khalil Herbert, Bryce Young as a backup, and Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, this team, I mean, it's not fully all in. I mean, Hill, we talked about, should have at least a couple more good years. Eckler's the one where it's like, this might be it for Eckler. This might be the last year, but you never know. But then you got Etienne, is still young. Chubb, he's probably starting the decline, but he's just starting it. So I still think you'll probably get a couple decent years from him. I know I'm probably going to get comments from that now. D-Hop, certainly he's way up there. I think it's a good mix. Like, I think this is a team that can contend this year. And even if, like, let's say Hopkins ends up somewhere bad like Tennessee and doesn't have a great year, and let's say Eckler hits the cliff or whatever, you still have enough youth to, like, not completely go into, like, full tank mode.
Yeah, I guess it did go pretty young late, so I guess some like kind of like hedging his bet, right, to offset the older players at tight end and stuff. So no, I mean it's good. It's a good team. Definitely one of the better contenders, I think, for this year.
Oh, yeah, definitely could contend this year for sure.
Oh yeah, and you know I'm all about that. All right, NMB. Let's see. Gary Wilson, Devontae Smith, Christian Watson. That's a good start. Lamar Jackson, Christian Kirk, then Mark Andrews at tight end. Finally get around to the running backs. What do you think of Javonte Williams, Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Montgomery, Chase Brown?
I mean, I can't say I hate it because he's got a very young team. I mean, Christian Kirk at 26 years old is his oldest wide receiver, right? So like this isn't a team that has to like win this year. So if Javonte doesn't do much for you this year, it's okay. And you still do have Pacheco, Brian Robinson, and Montgomery, who should at least give you you should at least get like 2 decent running back weeks out of those guys every week, or 2 decent running back games out of those guys every week, I should say, assuming they stay healthy, of course. So yeah, I like it because again, this is a team that if it doesn't contend this year, because let's say their running backs aren't very good, like maybe Brian Robinson isn't very good, or Pacheco is not as good, or David Montgomery, like Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy or whatever, it's okay because next year you still have great wide receivers. You still have Lamar, you still have Andrews, and now you should have a fully healthy Javonte Williams. So, yeah, I definitely like this for Dynasty.
For Dynasty, yes. So because of the running backs, I feel like this is really more for next year to truly contend. But then let's keep it going with Team 8. And let's look at it just by position here, because look at these running backs. By contrast, you got CMC, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Devin Singletary. And then a receiver, you have, I think is an interesting mix here. Zay Flowers, Jerry Jeudy, Mari Cooper, Juju, Jacoby Myers, and then Michael Wilson. 2 as the quarterback, Kittle as the tight end. So what do you make of this?
It's an interesting team. I mean, if McCaffrey and Barkley stay healthy and elite, and Flowers is good this year, and Cooper is what we think, and Jeudy is at least good enough, this is certainly a team that could contend this year. But this is also a team that going into next year could look really, really scary. Like, let's say McCaffrey about to hit 1,500 touches. Let's say he has another year where he's banged up all year and barely plays. Let's say, Mixon probably going to be dust after this year, to be honest, if he's not already there. And then let's say Juju isn't very good. Maybe Judy's just never better than he's been. He's just all hype, no substance. Now you got Cooper, 30 years old. Kittle also, I think, will be 30 years old. Now this is a team where you're going into next year going man, what do I do with this team? I got to do something about this team. So certainly could contend this year, but I would be ready to pivot into rebuild mode at some point this season if it looked like things weren't going right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with the receiver. It went from young to middle to older. It kept getting, and then I don't love the depth of receiver, but look, if Zay Flowers is as good as I think he'll be, and if things break right for this team at receiver, then this could be a championship team this year. I think It was a little early for Tua. I mean, in Dynasty, I told you there's risk there. We know the risk, right? Definitely risk, and it's just about the concussion. So I think that I was surprised he went that early. But this is definitely a good contender for this year. And then Stinger, always a contender. Diggs, JT, Pitts, Ayuk, Swift, Anthony Richardson, Mike Williams, Downs, Dalvin Cook, Alec Pierce, Tillman, Dak, and then Eric Gray.
It's an interesting team. Definitely. I mean,
it's kind of a contrast, right? You have so much youth at quarterback and tight end, right? So young and a ton of upside, but so young. And then the running backs are young, but there's just like so much risk there. I mean, the risk and reward potential, but yeah, it is kind of weird, isn't it? Kind of like,
yeah, and I feel like with Diggs, Ayuk, Mike Williams, Downs, Pierce, Tillman, you should be okay at wide receiver at least this year. This is definitely a team where a year or two from now, you could be really hurting at wide receiver. Certainly at running back, it's going to come down to Swift, because we know JT when healthy is very good. Like, we don't really have to worry about that. We know Cook when healthy right now is okay, and he's only going to get worse, right? He's at that point of his career whether you want to accept it or not. That's where he's at. You don't have to accept it if you don't want to, but it's true. Not saying he's going to, like, he's dusty or anything, but he's certainly, his best days are behind him, and it's only going to get worse. It doesn't get better. They don't, like, make a rebound as they get older, right? They get worse and worse. So the running backs really comes down to Swift. If Swift breaks out this year finally and becomes a stud, then this could be a great team. If Swift does another Swift year, then, like, you're really going to be like, you're going to next year, maybe JT is the only running back you feel good about. Because Cook, we could be looking at Cook, like, probably having an even worse year than he had last year. And now, how are you feeling at running back? So it's a very interesting team. I'm not really sure how to rate this team.
Yeah, I feel like this team, the name of this team should just be if. Like, in the big letters, if Pitts breaks out, like, if Anthony Richardson is ready for year one, if Swift can, break out too. Yeah, so a lot of ifs here. If Dalvin Cook gets a job, so a lot of potential on both sides. All right, I took the 10th spot. I decided to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown first, and then Jalen Waddle next, and Devontae Adams at the 4th round. Joe Burrow is my quarterback. J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, Devon Shane, Eli Mitchell for some reason. And then I got the Muth with Sutton, Mooney, Gallup, and Shakir at receiver.
Yes, this is one of those teams where, like, even though I'm like, I just don't want to touch Adams in Dynasty. Even if, like, let's say he's terrible with Jimmy G this year and his value is just gone, right? It's like, okay, that's it. It's over for Devontae Adams. You still have guys like St. Brown and Waddle, of course, are very young. Sutton's still only 27. Mooney only 25. Gallup only 27. Like, you still have some guys that could step up and replace Devontae. Like, no, they're not going to be as good as you're expecting Devontae Adams, but, like, you'll still be okay at wide receiver. You won't feel like, oh, man, now I'm done. And love Burrow, of course. Love Muth. I think the one area I'm a little, like, even though I really like Dobbins, I really like Akers, I really like Ashane, like, maybe a little more depth at running back would make me feel a little bit better. Or if you had one guy that I felt like, okay, you can depend on that guy, no doubt about it, for the next few years, and then you have some depth behind him. But definitely this should be a contender this year. I mean, your wide receivers, those 3 wide receivers are great. Burrow's great. Muth is great. Assuming Dobbins and Akers do what we think they're going to do, you should be solid at running back this year. It's just if something does happen, right? Like, if, let's say, Akers isn't really back from Achilles like we thought, or maybe Dobbins isn't that guy, the next, running back could be a little dicey for you. But I certainly think this is a contending team, definitely.
It's trying to straddle that line. I'll just say about Devontae's, even if he's not an elite receiver this year because of whatever happens with the Raiders, I feel like his floor can only go so low. Like, I don't feel like he can just totally tank. Like, he's too good for that. He's clearly the number one guy there. I mean, unless they just have, like, no semblance of professional. Like, if their quarterback plays like XFL caliber or something like that. Like, I don't think their quarterback plays Aiden O'Connell. I mean, that's worst case, but I don't know. Yeah. And then Taz went with Kupp, Kelsey, Kenny Walker, Fields, and then Derrick Henry, Jameson Williams, Bateman, Elijah Moore, Kamara was the auto pick. I think Mike Evans, was that also an auto pick?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was. And then Spears, Hyatt, and Butte. So
Yeah,
interesting.
this definitely feels like a team that has to win this year. I mean, look, Cup and Kelsey could still be good 2 years from now. We don't know. Henry getting close to that 2,000 touch mark.
Yeah.
Like this is almost certainly the last year that Henry is any good. I mean, almost certainly. Like it's hard. It'd be very rare for Derrick Henry to go into next year with 2,300 touches or 2,200 touches, whatever it's going to be, and still perform at a high level. There's just not a lot of running backs that do that in historically. And of course you got Kamara and Evans. We know Kamara's already dusty. Evans is old. So this definitely is a team that probably has to contend this year. I mean, even though you do have some youth, maybe those guys could step up. Maybe Bateman steps up finally. Maybe Elijah Moore steps up. Maybe Hyatt breaks out as a rookie or Butte. But, yeah, very interesting team.
Yeah, that's this interesting dichotomy there. Getting one of the youngest running backs in Kenneth Walker, and then one of the maybe not even oldest, just most used in Derrick Henry. I can't criticize this style of drafting because I have Kelsey and Henry on a couple of dynasty teams myself. I just don't love Jameson Williams, as I've said. But other than that, it is what it is. And then Andrea at the 12 took Olave, Jahmyr Gibbs. That's interesting. What do you think about Jahmyr Gibbs before Jonathan Taylor, before Breece Hall, before Barkley, and those guys?
Yeah, I can't do it. Not before Taylor and Breece. Maybe Barkley, but even then I probably couldn't. Maybe Eckler, just because Eckler, I feel like this is probably the last good year for Eckler. Yeah, it definitely feels early for Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, I get if you don't want to wait for Breece Hall to get his ACL recovery year through. Okay, maybe Gibbs will be better this year, but I'm still taking JT over him.
Yeah.
But anyways, just wondered. All right. And then we got Justin Herbert, DJ Moore, Mingo, Pollard, and they start around 6. That feels like good value. Lockett,
Yep.
Dalton Kincaid, Algier Mechie, who you sort of sniped for me. I was going to take him. Hodgins, who I feel like she takes every draft now whenever she can. That's her guy. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then Stroud and Penny.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of guys I like here. Some guys I'm like, Like again, I mean, we can nitpick about Gibbs or JT or whoever, but like I don't mind those first 4 picks. You got 2 good wide receivers that are fairly young. You got a young dynamic running back. You got a young stud quarterback. I feel like that's probably a little early for Mingo. I think you got good value on Pollard. Lockett, a guy I'm really only drafting if I'm like 100% win now. And I don't know if this team is ready to win now. Like with Mingo as your wide receiver 3.
Yeah. And Gibbs.
And Kincaid is your starting tight end. I don't feel like this is a team that's going to necessarily contend this year. I would have rather gone with a younger wide, like an Elijah Moore or even a Josh Downs or Jaden Reed over Lockett there. I just think it'd be better for your team. Because Lockett, again, he's in his 30s now. I mean, they just drafted JSN. We can't just expect these guys to be good forever. Like, he's going to fall off, if not this year, probably next year. So, I like the way you finish the draft. Certainly I like that. I just think that Lockett pick seems a little weird to me.
Yeah, that one doesn't quite fit. And it's like if you're going to go ahead and just say, hey, I'm playing for next year or I want youth, go young, because Lockett really isn't going to make a difference between getting you a couple more wins, than another guy who, maybe won't be as productive like a Josh Downs this year, but has more long-term value, could have a lot more upside, so. But yeah, you did get some good values, I think. All right, guys.
Yeah,
so that was our mock. If you want to do this for real, again, nice slow draft. There it is right there. You can play Dynasty, learn how to play. If you're brand new to Dynasty, you want to try it out, no pressure. $0 to enter this league. You just have to be a member of the Flock. Go flockfantasy.com/endgame so you can join ours. 30% off right now, any subscription, and that will only last a little bit longer. Trust me, it's going to go away pretty soon. So check that out. Join Dynasty League with us and compete for prize money too. All right, Chris, what's the last word? Oh, we got to tell them about the app. Did we tell them about the app yet?
Oh, yeah, don't forget, we also have our app, Draft Lane. Check it out. It's awesome. If you play fantasy, which you all do, you can have access to all your sleeper, all your Yahoo leagues. You can see how you rank against all your league mates. See how you rank against all other fantasy football players that are on the app. It's going to update real time during the season to see your ranking when you win, when you lose. It's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, you can connect with us directly, ask us questions like start, sit, waiver wire, trade, draft advice, whatever you want. Download it, App Store, Google Play. Totally free to download. That's Draft Lane. You see it right here, Draft Lane. Check it out.
There you go. Get ahead of the curve. All right, guys. Thanks, and we'll see you next time for another mock. You want to get in early, get your spot settled well, not right now. He hasn't made the league yet. But nice and early tomorrow. Again, join the flock. Link is in the description down below. Check it out if you haven't already. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.